Hey, Jazzy fam, and those that are not yet fam, it's your girl Jazzy J with another episode of Do You See? Okay. All right, if you don't know what COK means, it stands for Circumference of Knowledge. Everybody has one, and no matter how big it is, it's still space out here. Circumference of knowledge represents what you trust, what you know, what you have faith in, what you believe, what you see, what you think, all of that. And most people dwell in here. But I'm here to tell you, I'm going to be out here in the ethos. I'm going to be out here. And belief is just the thought that you keep thinking. Okay? So now that we got those things out of the way, let's talk about the game of life. People, life is a puzzle and life is a game. And in order to put all of the puzzle pieces together, you must understand the rules of the game. So let's talk about it. This represents the macro, the broader view of the one. Source, the creator of the universe. Spirit, or consciousness of all, whatever you want to call it. This represents spirit. And whatever religious framework that you operate out of, that's this, the one. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story. First, close your eyes. When you close your eyes, you just see darkness. Darkness with no matter, no boundaries, just nothingness. And I want you to know that is source. That is the one. Now open your eyes. Everything that you see is also source. This electronic device that I'm speaking into, somebody co-created that from their conscious mind, creative, imaginative, genius mind that we're all born with. This blouse I have on, these earrings, this hairstyle, this necklace, this big old post-it piece, this cardboard, the room that I'm in, every nail, every screw, the light, this pedestal, the table, the chair, the floor, the candle, the magazines, the books, the suitcases, the boxes. Everything that you are looking at right now came from someone's conscious mind, from the genius mind, the consciousness of all. So, what would you do if you were the one? Just think about it. You're everything and no thing all at the same time. So, say, you know what? I want to see myself. So the one decides to separate. This is why we live in duality. Because the one wanted to see itself. And so it's separated. And that's why you have masculine energy, feminine energy, male form, female form, black, white, good, bad, up, down, short, tall. I could keep going. North, south, east, west. It goes on and on. We live in a dualistic nature because the one wanted to see itself. Now, why is God a gamer? You can go on Google and just, I did this. I don't have my numbers in front of me, but games. I remember the one about gaming. There are like 3.36 billion people that play video games. And then there are card games, and there are board games, and there are sports games, and games, and games, and games. And everybody loves a good game. Everybody. So, what's the game of life? So if you go back in my past videos, I showed you how your subconscious mind and your conscious mind is working. And most people in this third dimension are operating 95% of their decisions, actions, and behaviors out of their coded and programmed subconscious mind. You can just look at what's going on in the world today. All of the things that are going on in the world today that are hateful, derogatory, frustrating, confusing, are based in a code that has been passed down through the generations, and it is believed. And remember, belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. So racism, passed down through generations. Why? Because that mentality has been embedded and coded into human beings, which makes them a human bot. And when they take it to a low vibration, they act like a human creature. All based on a code that was embedded. So the game of life is the journey that one takes from the subconscious embedded codes back to the conscious genius God-centered mind. Now, a lot of people don't make the journey back. They just stay right there in them codes. But guess what? They get to come back to Earth School and do it all over again. It's just like the system here. Now let's talk about the micro. This is the micro. Because as above, so below. So, as above, right? The broad view, creator, consciousness. When we transition into the physical realm, we become a fractal energy of spirit. That's the very fact that you're living and breathing is evidence that you are a fractal energy of source. Right? So you become a co-creator in the physical realm. You are the unique verse in the universe. So why? Because God wants to experience itself through the iteration of Janelle Westley-Edwards, through the iteration of Jane Doe, through the iteration of Bob Smith, through the iteration, through billions of iterations. And why is it a game? Because spirit wants to experience itself in the journey of Janelle Westley-Edwards, who had a traumatic experience when she was 12 years young and had all of these questions about this God who would create these beings to die and then throw them in a hell pit for eternity. Now, I'm a mathematician by trade, y'all, so you can't even quantify that. It's the energy cannot be created or destroyed, so forever? Like, really? You know, I'm very keen when people say, you always, or you never. Because I'm like, you know what always mean? Or never? You can't even quantify those things. And you doggone sure can't quantify eternity. So, traumatic experience, had this intense fellowship, and from that day to this one, Spirit is still answering the questions that I had. Because I've been rabbit holing, y'all. I call it rabbit hole. If y'all ever seen Alice in Wonderland, you know what the rabbit hole is. And baby, this is a journey, rabbit holing. And what's so amazing to me is it ain't new. It's folk that know, but you have to be seeking for it. But if you're operating out of 95% codes, most people stay there. But our ancestors knew. So here you are, a fractal energy of the one in the iteration of, and whatever your name is. So you make over here a soul contract to come here in the earthly realm. You're endowed with gifts and talents that you are here to share with humanity and become a co-creator from the supreme divine creator. You become a supernatural being when you tap in to your genius mind, but most people are only operating at a 5% or less. So that's when you become a human bot, because you're just like a robot, succumbing to everything the system tells you. And then if that is distorted, you diminish even further and become a human creature where your behavior is animalistic. And you know the animals are of a lower intelligence than we are. See, there is but one life. And in this third dimension, we know that this one life, this one consciousness, separated and split itself into galactic beings, or for my Christian folk, the angelic realm. And I can say that because that's what I came through. Human beings. You understand that you are a supernatural being here to experience life and deposit the gifts and talents for the betterment of humanity. And then you have animal kingdom and you have the plant kingdom, and we're all interconnected. So you say, Janelle, what's the game? So the creator wants to experience itself. So in the game, you're journeying from the subconscious programming back to the conscious mind to make the deposit. So why? Because Earth is a school. This is the third dimension. By my research, and I'm still researching, there are 11 dimensions. So when you can reside and be in the third dimension, but your consciousness is fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth dimension thinking, you don't have to come back here. You can go to another dimension. That's amazing. Because we ain't seen ourselves nothing yet. We think we have, but we haven't. So that's the game. But you got to go in to get out. You got to go in to win. And the only game that you have to win, baby, is yours. You don't have to win my game, and I don't have to win yours. That's amazing. That's why when people project, it bounces off when you know who you are. When you know that you are God. You are a fractal energy of the source. When you tap into that energy, it doesn't matter. It's balance. It's neutrality. It don't matter. It don't matter what folks say. It don't matter how they hate. It don't matter about none of that. Because when you tap in, you're going to elevate. Because spirit going to do it. Not anybody else. Now, there are other people here that are tapped in that will be a part of your vibe tribe. And the universe will bring you all together. When you start to study people and their success, not looking at them in their success, but reading the stories behind the glory, baby, they done been through some stuff. See, a lot of people don't know the stuff that they've been through. All they vibing on is, oh, they this now, they that now, they You don't know what attacks they've been through. You don't know what challenges they have overcome. But like I said, the only game that you have to win is yours. But this is the whole object of this existence and why we're here. That's one of the questions that I asked when I was 12 years young. What is this about? Why are we here? This don't make no sense. That's what I was saying then, because it didn't make sense. You know, people believe in, you're going to hell, and no, just go back to the one. And if you have not learned the lesson, you get to see a whole videotape of your life. You get to experience all the feelings that people felt from your presence and all the ripple effects. And then you get to come back and do it all over again. So you can learn the lesson. It's just like we do in school. What happened when you fail a test? You got to take the test over. Micro. As above, so below. We're doing the same thing. God does not want to destroy itself. If you understand that you are a fractal energy of God, why would God destroy itself or any piece of itself? It's just like you feel. You don't want to destroy any piece of yourself. When people are doing things that are not holistic for themselves, that's a clear indication that there's a hole somewhere. And they want to fill it. There's a fragment of their soul consciousness that they don't remember who they are. And so they try to fill it with external things. Alcohol, drugs, pills, sex, food, or the major ones. And so they live life trying to fill themselves with those things. And then they operate under the law of diminishing returns. And so they continue to try and get more and more and more and more of that theme. But each time it leaves a deeper hole because it doesn't give them that high, that fix of the first time. You know, I went to school with Shannon Shaw. And in school, you know, the extent of our relationship was he's a great spade partner. Because we de-asked a lot of people from our table when we played together. And he would be over there saying, Saturdays! And I'll be saying, de-ass the seats. Next. But that's really the only interaction I had with him. But I was also a peer counselor. And back in our day, the freshmen would come a week early, so the peer counselors could get them registered, show them around campus, teach them the alma mater, all of this stuff. But the football players would be there as well. Now, the football players didn't kindly take to us because they said we was cock blocking. Because I tell my little freshman girls, I said, listen here, baby. The girlfriend's going to be back next week. Now, this week, they're going to be skinning and grinning in your face, and you're going to be like, oh, stop. You're so crazy. All that. And if you give up the coochie, their girlfriend's going to be back the next week, and they're going to act like they don't know you. Now, that's what I tell mine. So the football players really didn't feel too good about us like that. You know, the ones who did tell. But in that third week, we would be inundated with these same little freshman girls up in the peer council office, boo-hoo crying, talking about the same thing I just described. Now, Shannon's name would come up, but we always had to ask, was it consensual? And the answer was always yes. So I don't know all the things that's going on. I heard a little bit about it and what this child claiming and stuff, but I know that he never took nothing as far as I know. He didn't have to. And I'm saying this because he built an amazing career. I remember being at the house parties when he was in the Super Bowl and all of us rooting and cheering for him. You know, I remember all of that. And, you know, I didn't too much watch his show with Skip. I caught it a couple of times, but my brother watched it all the time. And then I caught his podcast a couple of times. And I tried to reach out to him for, you know, to get what we got going on with addressing childhood obesity to see if we can get some notoriety. But I didn't hear anything back. But I was disheartened and just felt really bad because, and this is what I'm talking about, subconscious programming. In his teens, he was exhibiting the same behavior that he's exhibiting in his 50s. Now, I'm not trying to throw any shade. I just know that this is out there all over the internet. And I feel a little sorry for the brother, for my classmate. Because what I see is that there's something that's not whole in here. And this young man is trying to fill the hole with external things and sex, which he's been trying to feel since college days. Now, I know about 3 women he has children from, and other than that, I don't know nothing else. But this allegation, and I heard something before, because y'all know I don't watch the news. Well, y'all might not know, but I don't watch the news. I don't have time. All my time is spent looking at me. What do I need to do? Why am I triggered by this? Because trigger reveal traumas, and I'm trying to figure out my traumas and why I'm triggered. I am increasing my emotional intelligence to understand what this whole life thing is about. Because I have lived hell on earth, but now I'm experiencing heaven on earth, and I love it. And I want to win my game, the game of life. And I want you to win your game. Because that's all we're here for, is to win the game. And Shannon has won so many games. And all of the athletes out there, you know, we want to get notable athletes to sponsor our games in our community health engagement program. Because you know what discipline and focus it takes to be in a game and to execute at the highest level of intensity. People, that's amazing. And it doesn't come overnight. It takes time. It's a process. They made mistakes. Michael Jordan was cut from a basketball team, but he didn't stop. It takes fortitude and perseverance. That's why God is a gamer. That's why he loves. And I said I'm still coded to that too. Because God is not a gender. God is a spirit. It's supreme consciousness. It's an energy. But the game, it's a beautiful thing how we all love underdog in the game. I've watched so many movies where this team, they counted them out. They weren't going to be this, or they're not supposed to win that. But they kept fighting. They kept training. They stayed focused. And they got in the game. And they won. And we love it. And it makes us feel so good inside. And the joy bubbles up. See, a lot of people are only experiencing pleasure. There's nothing wrong with sex. Sex is sacred with the right energy behind it. So, people, get in the game. I'll be back with another episode. But this has been your girl, Jazzy J. And I say, jazz love. Jazz do it. Jazz on the journey. And always. And I do mean always. Remember in life to jazz as you see it